Hello, everyone. My name is Brent Veazey, and I am the chairperson for the Montgomery County Forward Party. It is my honor today to talk to you about something that's very, very important to each and every one of us, our power grid. Yes, electricity. It matters. And we have issues here in Texas with our electricity, don't we? Regardless of whether there's a hurricane or tropical storm, tornado, or even a little rainstorm, we always seem to have some issues with our electricity, fluttering, fluctuating, going off and on. Why is that? Why is that always going on here in Texas? Well, there's a couple of things that I'm going to talk to you about. First, it's the fact that Texas is all by itself with its own power grid. It's called the Energy Reliability Council of Texas, ERCOT. You probably heard of it. We have our own grid because we decided that we did not want to share our power with other people. And if we were on the grid, which is there is a national grid for electricity in the United States, okay? If we were on that grid, we would have to share our power as well as be able to obtain power from others if and when we need it. That is the pro and the con of being on the national power grid. So several years ago, our state leadership, the Republican Party of Texas, decided that we needed to be on our own grid and be isolated so that we could just have our own power and our own electricity. That is problem number one. Whenever we reach the point of having maximum amount of electricity being pulled by users, we don't have hardly any reserves left to be able to go get some additional power. We don't have the ability to go up the line and say, hey, what's going on in Kansas? Y'all aren't generating a lot of electricity for yourselves that you're using. You have some backup. So can you send some down here to Texas so that we can use it because we definitely need it? Okay. We don't have that capability. We're all by ourselves. For the vast majority of the state, there's basically 41 counties within Texas that for various reasons aren't on the ERCOT system. In other words, they're able to still participate because they're close to a state border with the national power grid. And that's one of the reasons why I'm talking to you about this today, because I, fortunately, in Montgomery County, am living in an area that is able to access the national grid through my company called Entergy, okay, which is based in Louisiana and has offices in Louisiana, Arkansas, as well as Texas. We are able to participate in the national power grid, and in the emergencies that happen sometimes, maybe we're able to try to pull some electricity out of Louisiana to be able to help us here in Southeast Texas. There's about 41 counties that are in this type of situation, similar to us. Now, even though we are able to be on the national power grid, we still have fluttering lights, power goes down a lot. They just built another power generating unit here in Montgomery County. So we have two that's here in Montgomery County. And we're still having difficulties with keeping our grid up and running. So what's the problem? Well, that's the other aspect of our system that we have, and that is the lack of government oversight. We have the Public Utilities Commission here in Texas. They're the ones that are supposed to be making sure that these companies are doing what they're supposed to be doing because they are companies, right? Most of them, some of them, are all going to be trying to make a profit because there's some co-ops that are out there and they'll give you back some money and they're just trying to break even and provide a service. But for the most part, companies are trying to make a profit because that is why they are a company, okay? They're not in it to be in a social good. That's the bottom line here. Their main thing is their main obligation is to their stockholders or their owners, not to the public at large. So they want to try to have as much profit as they can to be able to give their primary sources of focus, their owners, what they need and what they should have. Without public oversight of those owners, and making sure that they're doing what they should be doing regarding maintenance, making sure that you have the right situations in place for emergencies, backup systems, redundancies, all of these things, these companies, they just do what they want to be able to do in order to make money. So what we have is a system where a Cat 1 storm, barely a Cat 1, came in recently in Beryl and was able to hit and destroy enough of the infrastructure here in Montgomery County that my house in particular was without power for over a week. Over a week. And that was with a 75 and 80 mile an hour wind. A lot of that happened because we had pole snap, because we have wooden poles. There's no laws that mandate that these systems, transmission lines, how they get the power to us, are supposed to be built and constructed. They do that in other states because in the national power grid, there's requirements because the government from the federal government is overseeing a lot of that as well. And they're making sure that those entities are doing some of the things that they should be doing, like putting utilities underground and or making sure that power poles are constructed with sturdier fare, say fiberglass, for instance. So I've talked to friends and family that is in the energy sector, and they tell me this is the biggest issue that's out there, is redundancy in the network, maintenance of the network, making sure you don't have limbs and trees in the way of the lines themselves that can get blown around, knock the lines off. Even these basic things with making sure you don't have trees in the way or things that the state does not require these companies to do on a regular basis. They regulate them basically on price. That's all they really care about. That and, the hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars of campaign donations that they do give back to the Republican candidates that are in office and making sure that they're able to continue doing what they're doing. So even though we have access to that national grid, we still have the same problems with reliability that all of you others in Texas that are on ERCOT have. And that gets back to also the generating capacity. So we have a lack of generated electricity in Texas, but we don't. That is the little secret. Because, those panels that are out there, the solar panels and the wind turbines, if you go out in the West Texas, you'll see the wind turbines. They are just huge and amazing to see. But all these renewable energy sources now have gotten to the point that we now have over 50% of our electricity coming from wind and solar in the state of Texas. Not natural gas, which everybody thinks that is what's the case, but over 50% earlier this year came from renewable and solar. And on top of that, the interesting part of this is that there is still more solar power that's out there ready to be pulled back into the grid if only we had transmission lines to be able to get that electricity off of the solar panels and into our homes. The estimate that someone in the business told me is that we have enough solar energy being stored in the system that's not being accessed that could double the amount of electricity we have in the state of Texas. Double, which is what they say we're going to need in just a few years anyway. And all we have to do, I say all, but what we have to do, we got to spend a few $1 billion on transmission lines to be able to get, because it's a different kind of electricity, okay? It's a different kind of current. You have to be able to have a different type of transmission line that's able to get that from where it's at and being stored and into the system to go out through the generating plants into our homes. It's there. We don't need to spend additional billions on natural gas plants, which is what Lieutenant Governor Patrick and others are saying that we need to do. We actually just have to spend the money on these transmission lines that will be much faster to replace and probably not quite as expensive as building these other plants as well. In addition, it's solar power, so we pay for basically the panels, we pay maybe for the transmission lines, and maybe the batteries, and that's it. So the cost of these things now is to the point to where it's pretty inexpensive versus what we're getting from natural gas. In other words, it's a wash. Bottom line here is our energy crisis that we have in the state of Texas is being caused by one thing and one thing only, and that is the politics behind the Republican Party. They have to be able to go and make sure that their natural gas campaign donors are taken care of. And they got to make sure that their energy company, electricity power generating companies are also taken care of for the same reason. That's why we have what we have here. And that's why we are in constant need of electricity more and more and more, especially during the summer. And it's only going to get worse as time goes on. The solutions are out there, folks. They really are. We just need to make sure that we socially motivate these organizations, the energy companies, to do what they should be doing. Build redundancy into your systems. Put those power lines out there to get that solar energy off those panels and into their homes. And most importantly, maintain what you own. Keep the trees clear. Build underground systems if you need to. Build the fiberglass poles to replace those wooden poles that dry out now because of the heat of the summer and make it more likely that they snap in any kind of rain or any kind of wind. That's what we need to do. That's what we should be holding people accountable for. It's that simple. And in order to do it, we have to hold those in Austin accountable for it, starting with the governor and then going down into the legislature. That's what it's about. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you found this very interesting, and stay tuned for some more great information coming from the Forward Party here. I'm Brent Veazey, chair of the Montgomery County Forward Party. Take care and have a good one. Goodbye.